We know that Shirley Chisholm made history as the first Black woman elected to Congress, and you made history last night. But I wanted to ask you what personally for you is history making about your candidacy? What of your many triumphs stands out to you?
Personally, this win is historic for me because, one, of course, I'm the first Black woman to ever represent Missouri in Congress. But, I'm the first Black woman, and I am someone who is walking in the door with lived experience and not electoral experience. I'm not from a wealthy family. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a white man. I'm not what people would uh, deem congressional, is what I've heard. I don't have that background, so that's historic to me as well. Also, that has been what has pushed me to want to continue going because this district, people look like me in this district and they come from the experiences that I come from, the hardships, the struggles, but also the triumph. So people can relate to who I am and what I plan to do in this district.
And I think it's notable in one of your tweets, you said, I shouldn't be the first. So, what needs to change moving forward?
I should not be the first Black woman to represent Missouri in Congress in 2020. I should not be. I should be, number 17 or number 34, you know, because Congress, in this seat, in the House of Representatives, we elect a new member uh, every 2 years. So every 2 years since, Congress started, Missouri has been represented in Congress. There was no Black woman that was, and I understand, I'm not talking about, look, the fact that it took us so long to even as Black women, first of all, to have the right to vote and then to actually be able to vote. That is one thing that is just still really disturbing to me. But even since then, the fact that we have not been able to move forward in this state, and even when you talk about running for federal office in this state, people will say, but you're a Black woman, and it's the strangest thing. But so it was important to me. Oh, you say I can't? So I was the kid that if you told me that like that the stove is hot, don't touch the stove because you'll burn yourself. I was the kid that "Oop, I was going to touch the stove, and so I guess I thought it was a character flaw, but now I'm seeing that that thing is also needed. And so you say I can't do it, and so now I'm going to do it, because I need to see now, and not in everything, of course, but I need to see um, why do you think that I can't? My blood is the same color as yours. I've gone to school. You've gone to school. The qualifications for this particular position. I qualify. That's how I was able to get on the ballot. So why can't I run for this seat? That's why it's important to me because not only that, there are so many girls who look like me and women who look like me that need to know that they are represented and somebody has their best interest and comes from where they come from. And because of that, it opens the door for them to say, oh, I can do that too. That's how we do it. And not even just on the federal level, on the local level, on the state level.
Absolutely. And it's clear you described the many obstacles that you faced and people in your and our community face. And I think it's amazing that you're a true Renaissance woman. I think when we first spoke in Ferguson, that was in your capacity as an activist and a pastor, but you're also a registered nurse. And now a lot of people are pegging you as the newest member of the squad. But I wanted to hear from you. Do you consider yourself the newest member of the squad? What's your take on all of that?
Absolutely. The squad is big. It's big. And the squad is actually anyone who believes the same things that we believe, who believe that people should have their basic human rights met, that belongs to them. And whatever we have to do to fight for it, that's what we're going to do. And if that means getting on TV to do it, if it means being loud in the street with a bullhorn, however we have to get our message across, that thing that's on the inside of us, whatever we have to do to pull that out and to bring home, what our communities need. That's what we'll do. So that's the squad. Are you willing to fight for your community? Are you willing to put yourself on the line? Do you believe what we believe? You know, just a dignity, and a love of humanity. Then you are part of the squad.
And we know today that results are still coming in, but it looks like there will be a Republican controlled Senate. And so, given your progressive platform, I do wonder what specific pieces of legislation you hope to push through the noise. What are your top priorities as a member of the House of Representatives?
Top priority, because of where we are right now with COVID-19, it is COVID-19 relief. And so I absolutely support a $2,000 a month universal basic income for every person, making it retroactive back to March and making that for 1 year. We have to get out of this place where we are not only struggling, but people are losing so much when we were already struggling pre-COVID. Like this didn't just start. So we have people who are already struggling, who are really in some desperate situations right now. So it's our job to make sure that we help in those ways. So it's the UBI. It's uh, a real moratorium on the evictions, but then also making sure that homeowners have the protections to not lose their properties as the renters aren't paying rent, and then canceling shutoffs. Both of those for one full year allow us to get on our feet. But then, as part of that package, um, I would love to see a national broadband. Our children shouldn't have to, go other places to be able to do their studies. With hybrid learning and online learning, it's a necessity right now. So a national broadband for across the country for our students. A More resources for tutors. Our children, they need the help. Online learning and hybrid learning is difficult for many. So tutors available, making sure that there is funding for students to be able to eat during the day. Those that are at home that would normally be at school, some families that was how, that was a meal for a child. So making sure that money was available. And then also, what do our students need? Do they have the proper equipment? So the laptops, a table, they may not have a table at home to put the laptop on. Maybe it's 6 children in the household. Do all of them have their own equipment? So that's what we should be looking at straight out the gate.
It looks like you already have a lot cut out for you as you enter your first days. I also wanted to ask you, I know that following your win, you spoke almost immediately about Michael Brown. And I thought that was powerful. And I'd love to hear from you about A, why has it been so important for you to turn protest into policy work in Washington? But B, Michael Brown passed away now, I believe, over 5 years ago, and we're in 2020. So, what does justice for Black lives look like in 2020?
Justice for Black lives in 2020 looks like real justice for Michael Brown. I brought his name up in uh, my speech last night, um, because that was my catapult moment. That was that I call it my Damascus Road experience. That was one of those moments where I realized that we have to use what we have on the inside of us to change our situations, no longer waiting on other people, looking to entities, looking, to businesses and people with names and titles and money and power to change our communities when we can do this work ourselves. So Michael Brown didn't get justice. His family did not receive justice. So many of us, our lives changed because of what happened to this young man. And I could never, ever go about this work and not acknowledge the life that was lost in the 18-year-old. My son is 20 right now. I cannot imagine what his family went through losing their 18-year-old. And so I won't let that go. He didn't receive justice partly because of the way the laws are written. And so justice has to be not only holding police officers accountable and then removing police officers that just should not be on the force. Because as a nurse who has been in management, if I had a nurse that was endangering patients, that nurse was no longer on staff. Period. There was no code. You can't kill people and I, say, hey, let's go to dinner later. That's not how this works. You have to be held accountable for your actions. Period. We look at the system is more than police. So are we showing up to vote to make sure that we're voting in the right people into these seats, especially our local seats and our state seats? Somebody has the idea to put together these bills, and then they have colleagues that are like-minded that help and vote on these bills that help things to pass, that put us in positions where police are not held accountable for their actions. We have to make sure that we're looking at who's running, making sure that we're voting the right people, and then also who should we be running, who should in our community, who should we be training, who should we ready for these positions. And so that's a part of justice as well. If we have people, if we have judges, we have prosecutors, if we have our state assemblies and our local government on top of Congress that are all thinking the same way, if we can turn this country around and finally hold people accountable to being anti-racist, hold our police departments accountable to really being anti-racist, and I'm not even going to get on the whether we're doing reformists or whether we're doing abolitionists, because that'll go into a whole other conversation. But right
Another
now,
day.
looking at today for Michael Brown, right now, what we needed for Michael Brown, we needed all of those things to be in place for his justice, and we didn't get it. So I will always go back to the day that Michael Brown was murdered, because that's the day that changed the world. And so now it's up to us. We laid a foundation in Ferguson after protesting for more than 400 days, and that foundation is now here to be able to continue to build, to organize, to galvanize, to mobilize, and to change our future to save lives for Black people.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you so much for giving us your time on what I'm sure is a very busy few days. Much for your time. Yeah, great
Thank
to see you
you.
again. We'll be in touch.
You too, Zinhle. All right. Have a great one.